morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? We are back.
Rise and shine.
Shine, yes. I got the cup that my friend Gayleen, my sister Gayleen gave me. It
You
says
don't have
Crazy Cat Lady. I don't have cats,
I
but
have 2 cats. My daughter has 3. You need to give that to my daughter.
see, I love big cups. I have to have big cups. I
That's
hate
what
tea.
this is. I got a new one. It's
I
26.
can't do the little cups, guys. I can't
Me
do the little
either.
cups. I gotta do
Me
the big cups
either.
because I don't like my tea too strong, but yet I like to have
Oh,
more than one cup.
me
So
too.
with just one tea bag and a big cup like this, I'm good for the whole day.
But it's Labor Day, and look at Jeanette's little
Oh yeah,
sweater. I love that you do that. Isn't that cute? I like
it's
that.
just a little wrap, a very thin wrap that I got in
I
in
love
the
it.
mall. I got it like 10 years ago, but I
I
wear it
love
for
it.
the holidays.
I always
And
send my daughter clothes like 4th of July clothes. I sent her
yeah.
shorts and something this year. She did a bathing suit cover up. She wore it this year. They went out on the boat, and that's cute.
That's
She wore it.
Timu. Timu,
Oh,
one
I
dollar.
know Timo, right? Aren't you glad I found them for you?
Yeah, you
And
found
then
them for me.
I sent her shorts too. I sent her the bathing suit, and she didn't wear the shorts this year. Oh no, she did, but she didn't show it in a picture.
Yeah.
But who knows next year what
Okay.
she'll be doing.
Okay, guys. So this is going to go a little quicker today, hopefully, because we
Yeah.
have appointments and it's a very short reading. So Jesus in Nazareth. He's getting closer.
Mhm. Oh, I didn't pull up the map. Okay, go ahead. Let me pull up
Jesus.
the map first, real quick.
Okay. Jesus
Hold
in
on.
Nazareth is going to be our reading, and we are reading
Hold
the
on.
book of Catherine Emmerich and her visions, her complete visions. And she was beatified in 2004 by Saint John Paul II. So we know that she's been approved by the church, so everything is good there.
But our book club name is
Be Holy, for I Am Holy book club, which is in Peter.
yes,
God wants us to be holy, holier every day, to
which
be perfect.
spiritual reading does for us.
Yes.
Padre Pio's like, if you don't spiritual read, what's it say? The harm that comes to souls from the lack of reading holy books makes me shudder. What power spiritual reading has to lead to a change of course and to make even worldly people enter into the way of perfection. Padre Pio, Saint Padre Pio. So please, okay, hold on. I need to go get the map. Okay, guys, here's Nazareth. This is Palestine in the time of Jesus. That's Nazareth. They've been working towards it. They've been working towards Nazareth, and that's where they're going. Just so you kind of have an idea. I like to know where I am in the story.
He came from Hebron down there. He came from all those places, more to the bottom. You go to the bottom,
he was going north. I thought he was coming south.
I don't know, but didn't
Yeah,
he
he
come
did.
from Hebron?
It did mention Hebron. You're right.
So I don't know. But anyway, guys, there's a map.
So he was coming out. Yeah, I just think that maps are very important,
I'm
but
a mess. I don't know
we're
anymore.
here, Nazareth. Okay, that's why I like Montessori school, because they do a lot in maps and stuff. Okay, go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, it says here, I'm trying to find Tabor,
Well, yeah.
Chimki. They're kind of showing towns that he went through, not so much the bigger places. Capernaum,
Right.
Capernaum, Bathsheba.
Oh, Capernaum. See, we were up north.
Was there Capernaum on the
Yeah,
map?
here's
Capernaum. Okay,
look.
so he came from down there. He came
So
from
it was
Hebron.
Capernaum. Okay,
Then
so
he
we
went
were
to
going south.
Capernaum. Oh no, he came from the top, because if he went to Capernaum, now he's coming down.
Yep, that's what I was saying. He was coming
you're right.
south. Okay,
You're
but
right.
that's okay because he was doing Hebron a while ago.
Actually, I remember him coming from Sidon too, and Tyre. So,
You're right.
We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's been working his way down here
Down.
towards
Yes.
the baptism, guys. He's going towards the baptism. Go ahead, Jeanette. Go, girl.
Okay, so next morning, Jesus resumed his instructions. Two of the Pharisees from Nazareth came to him and, in a friendly manner, invited him to go back with them to the school. They said, as they said,
They
heard,
had.
they had, as they said, heard so much of his teachings in the country around that they were eager to hear him explain the prophets. Jesus went with them. They conducted him to the house of a Pharisee, in which many others were assembled. The 5 disciples were with their master. The Pharisees listened very politely to Jesus while he spoke to them in beautiful parables. His teaching appeared to please them greatly, and they led him to the synagogue, where a numerous audience awaited him. Jesus spoke of Moses and explained the prophecies concerning the Messiah. But whenever he dropped any words from which they might infer that he alluded to himself, they showed displeasure. One of the Pharisees spread for him a repast, and he spent the night with his 5 disciples at an inn near the school. And
Next day, Jesus addressed a crowd of publicans who were journeying just then to receive the baptism. Here we go. He afterward taught in the synagogue, making use of the similitude of the grain of wheat, which must die in the earth before producing its fruit. His words displeased the Pharisees, and they repeated their remarks about the son of the carpenter Joseph. He reproached him also for his communications with publicans and sinners, to which Jesus replied with great firmness. Then they took up the Essenians, whom they denominated hypocrites, who lived not according to the law. But Jesus showed them clearly that the Essenians were stricter followers of the law than the Pharisees. And so the reproach of hypocrisy fell back upon themselves. It was the question of benedictions that had led to the Essenians. Blessings were in common use among them, and the Pharisees were annoyed at seeing Jesus blessing little children. When, for instance, he was entering or leaving the synagogue, he was stopped by many mothers with their children, and his blessing craved for little ones. While Jesus dwelt at Nazareth, he had always much to do with the children, who became still and quiet near him. No matter how passionately they cried, his blessing had power to calm them. The mothers, remembering this, now brought their little ones to him to see whether he had become too proud to notice them. There were some among them who kicked violently, rolling over and over on the floor, as if they had cramps, screaming loudly all the while. But Jesus's blessing stilled them instantly. I saw something like a dark vapor going out from some of them. Jesus laid his hand on the heads of the boys and gave them the Patriarch's blessing in 3 lines, one from the head and one from either shoulder down to the heart, where all 3 united. He blessed the girls in the same way, but without laying his hand on them, though he made a sign on their lips. I thought, as I saw him do it, that it meant they should not prattle so much still. However, it was significant of something else. Jesus passed the night with his disciples in the house of a Pharisee. Oh, Jeanette, how beautiful is that? Now, Monday, it's about 10 pages, and Jesus rejects 3 rich youths, he confounds many learned men in the synagogue of Nazareth. So, we got a good one for Monday. But look, Jeanette, so here he is. They're showing a real comparison of the Pharisees from Nazareth that that were listening to him, and they were eager to hear him, these Pharisees, but they didn't like when he had something to say about himself. So they sent him to this house of Pharisee, and 5 of the disciples were with their master, and the Pharisees listened very politely to Jesus when he spoke to them in these beautiful parables. Could you imagine hearing Jesus speak? Oh my gosh, would that be so amazing? So his teaching really pleased them. They were like, it was probably like getting watered, your dry soil getting watered. And everybody wanted to hear him because he spoke so eloquently and was so good at teaching. Of course, he was the best, right? And they listened, but whenever he dropped any words that they might infer alluded to himself, they didn't want to hear he's the Son of God. They didn't want to hear anything that made them put their back up. So he was careful, though. Remember, he had a mission. And it was just starting with the baptism, so he was being careful, but they were listening very critically because that's how they were, and they showed great displeasure, and he was trying to softly, slowly toil the soil toward letting people know who he was. But they were on guard with it. They wanted to hear, but they wanted it to be in their terms. So, which don't we all do that? Don't we all do that? We want to hear from God, but we want it on our terms, right? So one of the Pharisees spread for him a repast, and he spent the night with his 5 disciples at an inn near the school. So the next day he's there again, and he addressed the crowd who were journeying just to receive the baptism. He's toiling the soil and telling them, get to that baptism, and trying to get people prepared. And then he taught in the synagogue, making use of the similitude of a grain of wheat. He's using a lot of gardening terms. There's a child's book I'm looking at to do for my grandkids. It's called the Garden of Mary or something like that. But I'll share it with some if you email me on it, the garden. But I haven't bought the book yet, but when I buy it and I have it sent, the next time, I need $35 because now Amazon went up and I don't do Prime. But anyway, so he afterward taught in the synagogue. Oh, I put that. Make it the grain of wheat, which must die in the earth before producing its fruit. And what does that tell us today? We must die to ourselves, and our pride must die for our fruit to be shown. And pride has to be murdered over and over and over again for us, because humans, our pride is our everything. And every day I'm like, and I said to Father John, I said, it's like I could never get past that. He said, well, guess what, Henrietta, that'll be for life, because we're all doing that. And I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. So his words displeased the Pharisees, and they repeated their remarks about the son of the carpenter, Joseph. So he said a few words, and they're like, well, isn't he just the son of Joseph? Remember the story, you can't be a hero in your own hometown. So they're very, very critical of him until eventually they kill him, obviously. But this is how he's doing things, and this is telling us we must die to self to produce our fruit in our lives. And I can say I didn't know Jesus until I went through my own suffering and my difficult times. And guys, that's what we have to do. When you are experiencing a cross, you have to say, okay, how can I use this to die to self and every painful thing? Because the more you do that, the more holier you get and the closer you get to God. but don't think you're that holy, because none of us are. We have to be so careful with pride.
My stupid temper. My temper.
Mine too. Mine
My
too.
temper. Oh, I get so mad.
My impatience and my impatience and my temper and my we're all like that, guys, but we just daily, like Father John said, it's something we will have to deal with to the last day on earth. And remember, our deathbed is where the devil is trying so hard to get us. So please start working so that you are an expert by the time you get to where the devil's trying to get your soul. You need to be experienced. This is a skill you develop during your life. Every day when you're saying, okay, I'm feeling this anger. Every day when you're feeling this pride, say, okay, I've got to slay this. And it's going to get me when I'm at my deathbed. I'm going to be better at it. Never, don't say I'm going to be real good at it, because there you go with pride. But you say, okay, I'm gaining my skills.
I've been reading Jeremiah this last week, and
oh my gosh, I just got a message about Jeremiah that I asked God, please give me a message. And that was it. So go ahead. That was,
oh wow.
You.
Okay, well, I've
I'm
been
gonna
reading
post it.
Jeremiah, and also I think it was one of the readings yesterday, but I listen to so many podcasts that sometimes I get what
I know,
what
me
they're reading
too.
at church and
Me
what I
too.
listen to. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I feel like Jeremiah with my family and my kids, because nobody would listen to him. He was so frustrated. He was getting always you know, he would get totally, like, people would be so mean to him. He was even put in jail. Then finally he said, I give up. I'm not talking about God anymore. I'm not talking about Jesus anymore. I'm not doing this anymore.
And that's what the Satan wants.
All it does is gives me hardship. Forget it. I'm done. Well, he couldn't. He couldn't. He was getting sick inside in his soul. That's because
right.
he wanted to speak the word of God, no matter how persecuted he would get. He had to do it. So he started doing it again. And then he felt so good. He goes, okay, I meant to do this. I meant to suffer. I am yours, Lord. And so I'm thinking, my kids are like those people, and I'm like Jeremiah. I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm not gonna deal with you guys anymore. But
Please
then I
don't
can't.
do that. You
like,
have
oh,
Jeanette.
I can't.
Your children are more important than the public that we're trying to do our work with right here. Your children are most important, because you are charged with guiding them. You cannot give up on your kids. Trust me when I tell you, I have older kids and I have younger, and it takes a while, because you know, it just takes a while. So your kids will get better. Don't worry. What it is, you know what changes them the most? When they have their own kids. Your kids haven't had their own kid. Well, your son has, but look at your older son. Look at, is it your older son? His wife she's very much in the word. So look, it happens when we have kids. Just give your kids time. Now, Junior, you know, Junior is, though. Junior listens to you. So
to a certain extent, I'm having problems with him right now.
But he's in his 20s, Jeanette. He's in his 20s. But let me just hold on.
He needs a girlfriend.
Just stop. Don't talk about that. Listen to Jeremiah, the message I got today from Jesus. It was in my thing. For I know the plans I have for you, because I'm asking him for something specific right now. And he says, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. When you brought up Jeremiah, I'm like, how do I know that this message is real? That's how I know now. Not only is it for the people, but it's for what I've been asking for right now. Okay, so let's move forward. So here we are. His he taught in the synagogue after that, using the use of the fruit that we're talking about, but his words displeased them, and they repeated their remarks about the son of the carpenter. You can't be a hero in your own hometown. Isn't that the son of Joseph? Remember, you're always going to hear that, Jeanette. Aren't you my mother? I don't need that. You know, our kids never want to listen to us. But what happens is, as they go along in their life and things happen, that's when you put the seeds. Remember, it's all about the grain of wheat that died to self. When your kids are suffering, that is the time you help them to see that this is what God wants from us. That's what here's the thing about young people. When we're young, we're supposed to build up our ego, and then it gets broken down to where, just like in the military, my husband used to say, when you come in the military, they break you down, then they rebuild you into the character they want. That's the way it is with young people. They build their ego up, and life knocks it down, but not to the point of hopelessness, which is why I loved today's message for me and you all about Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and hope. So when they get knocked down, you have to give them correction at that time in their suffering, because that's where their ego will die and their fruit will be born. And then you build them up with the hope. So you break them down and help them with hope. So they reproached him also for his communication with publicans and sinners. You know, back then it was like, well, like prosperity preaching today. Like, it's like, well, if Jesus loved you so much, why aren't you rich and perfect? No. Sometimes the rich, if they're not producing fruit, they're there maybe by Satan. The more you have, the more God expects you to give to the poor. So they don't understand this. And Jesus is telling them, this is where it is. This is what he said when he came back. They were killing each other. And this is what the Pharisees don't understand, and the Sadducees. Jesus came to tell us to love our neighbor, because they had all their little rules right, but they weren't living for God. And it is about charity. Remember, Doug taught me more on the whole charity thing. Well, it's about love of the poor and charity. And when we do our rosary, faith, hope, charity. First 3 beads on your rosary, right? That's what I mean. Unless it's like we used to do spiritual warfare rosary, and then we would do the Pope, because things were difficult. So we did the Pope, the priest, and the religious. So it's different if you're doing a specific like spiritual warfare or whatever. But you can start with those. But those are the most important ones. And it's all about, Jesus is teaching them. This is his point. You must embrace and love your neighbor, poor or not. Your poor people are no less valuable than your rich. So please, guys, this is a very, very important message from Jesus to us. So then he goes up, and they took up the Essenians, who they denominated hypocrites, who lived not according to the law. Remember, who was an Essenian? And the most humble people came from the Essenians. So Jesus corrects them. Remember, they're his people through his mother. That's his body came from his mother. Though a Jew, also an Essenian, which I think are the Ashkenazis. So, but Jesus showed them clearly the Essenians were stricter followers of the law than the Pharisees. And so reproach of hypocrisy fell back on themselves. And when the poor, remember, even though Jesus's family was rich, they were extraordinarily humble. The poor are much more humble, because they don't have things to say, look at how wonderful my house is and my car. But some poor, like you'll see those rappers and all, they're like, I got the money, and all that kind of crap. No, but you'll notice those little Black churches, even though they're split from the church, they're still trying to be holy. And rich people, poor people, their egos are constantly getting pounded. That's why they can give so much more fruit. So be careful when you judge the poor, especially those mothers that are working so hard, those single mothers that their family is being attacked, and they're sending their kids to church. Be careful when you're judging them, please, because Jesus, those are the kind of people he's talking about here with the Essenians, that they are much more holy than you and I. Trust me. You give the same circumstances they've been given, and you tell me you're going to be as good as them. because they have very little hope. They have police killing. They feel like police killing their kids. They feel a lot of racism. Be careful when you judge people is all I'm saying. So, blessings were in common use among them, and the Pharisees were annoyed at seeing Jesus blessing little children. Again, children were not valued back then. Children were treated as little crumb snatchers, that they were not. Today, we idolize our children. We are in the opposite of our culture today. We're like, my children can do no wrong. Oh, my children are so perfect. No, I was really hard on my kids because I didn't have a father. In fact, they will sometimes say, remember when mom did this? Remember when mom, they all get together and they love to, you know how your kids do the same as mine. Well, mom used to do this. Remember she used to do it. That your kids love, and your kids are a great source of knocking your ego right off because they'll keep you humble. So,
Oh yeah.
right. But little children back then, they were not treated good. So that's why we had more holy people back then, guys. So be careful when you're putting your kids up on little pedestals. My mom's like, you shouldn't idolize, because I always tried. She didn't understand what I was doing with my daughter. My daughter had difficult thing growing up, about her father and all. So I had to be careful with my daughter. My boys were strong as oxes, and they came from a different circumstance. And my daughter, she comes from a weaker constitution in some ways, and she needed more hope. And my mother was always competing with my attention for her and me. It was so silly, but that's how my mom was. But anyway, so here little children, they're like, oh, he's blessing the little children, the little crumb snatchers. No, things are different now. The pendulum swung. You know how in societies things will swing from pendulum back and forth but we're looking for the balance. So we need to be less focused on the kids, not than their in our dances and our competitions and how we put our kids up there. But back then it was different. Just so just to have some concept. So when, for instance, he was leaving the synagogue, the mothers, could you imagine, Jeanette, your children and your grandchildren, his blessing was craved. Could you imagine right now? Think about your grandchildren. You have a couple grandchildren. Could you think that here you and your
I got 3. Yeah.
Yeah, here are you and your daughter-in-law and your son, and you're going up and Jesus blessing them. My grandson's an adult. I'm waiting for more grandkids. But I think about him when he was little, and he was a little ADD. He's so good now. In fact, his teacher died, and it was one of his favorites. And you know what she told his mom? All my students should be like your son. Here I am propping up my grandson again. But anyway, could you just imagine? My grandson had that little ADD. Jesus could have come to him. Here it's saying that the kids that were like hyper like that, he would calm them. And my grandson, oh, he was all over the place. He was funny though. I have a picture. It's my favorite picture of him with a little eyeball. I'll put it up. Anyway, he's telling them, the children here, let me bless them. And so all the kids are coming. Jeanette, could you see yourself there with your grandchildren and being blessed by Jesus himself? I could see my grandson, and then we could do that. Jesus is here with us, guys. He's blessing our children. Have them do their guardian angel prayer that I should have had my kids doing, and have you bless them like Jeanette's blessing from Numbers. What is it, 6:24 through 26, Jeanette?
Yep.
Yeah, I sent it to my girlfriend, Mindy. We raised our kids together. She had a grandchild and a great grandchild. Her grandchild had a grandchild, or had a child. So I sent them the wings and then the prayer, and she loved it. She's Lutheran, but her one daughter-in-law is Catholic, so she loved it because it's a real pretty. They're like angel wings, and then I put the prayer, the guardian angel prayer. We need to have them say the prayer. We need to do the blessing Jeanette used to do with her kids on their forehead. You are blessed. Jeanette, start doing that with the kids. Start doing that with the kids now that they're older.
What, my kids or
Yes. Yes, it will remind them.
oh yeah, I do.
Every single day? No, you don't.
When I see Junior going to work and he goes, bye, Mom, I'm going to work. And he normally asks me, can I have a blessing? Can I have a hug? So I always
Okay,
give him a hug and a blessing.
but Jeanette, now you do, okay, it's 8. But now you got to do the other ones that are balking, giving you trouble. You do more of it.
Oh, yeah.
Remind them. Okay. That was the message for you. We only have this page, Jeanette. We're done almost. So we only have a minute because Jeanette has an appointment. Okay. So the mothers remembering this now brought them, no matter how passionately they cried, his blessing had power to calm them. Like I was saying, my grandson is bouncing all over the walls. I would have loved to have them. So I wish I would have known about Jeanette's blessing back then. They come too proud. He had become too proud to notice them. There were some, what do you mean? The mother, remember this, brought the little to see whether, the mothers were like, let's see if he's too proud. But he never was, because Jesus never is too proud for our kids. There were some among them kicked violently. They had cramps. Maybe, maybe Satan was getting in them a little, and Jesus's blessing stilled them instantly. Do that, Jeanette, with the kids, your kids. It'll remind them of when they were little. I saw some, like a dark vapor going out from them. Yep, there was a little Satan in them. Remember, I don't see that happening. Come on, we don't need to focus on that with kids, because you don't want to scare them. My grandson was so scared of the devil when he was little. He would ask me all these questions. I said, no, Joey, because he was so sweet, but because he thought he was bad all the time, because he was so he was so scared of the devil. And he's such a good kid. Anyway, Jesus laid his hands on the heads of the boys and gave them patriarch blessing in 3 lines, one from the head and one from either shoulder down to the heart, where all 3 united. Jeanette, so he did it like that. And he blessed the girls the same way, but without laying his hand on them. Remember, but he put the sign on their lips. Us girls have a lot to talk about. So she said, I thought it was to help them, they shouldn't prattle too much. I love that word, prattle, Jeanette. We got to start using prattle when we talk. Let's not prattle so much, Jeanette. Jeanette.
It says patriarch blessing includes a declaration of a person's lineage in the house of Israel and contain personal counsel from the Lord. As a person studies his or her patriarchal blessing and follows the counsel it contains, it will provide guidance, comfort, and protection.
But so, Jeanette,
guess we gotta look up.
But the Bible, hold on, Jeanette. The Bible, go on USCCB. It says the blessing in Numbers is the patriarchal blessing. It's a priestly blessing.
I didn't know that. Okay, yes. I thought
I'll send you the page. When
that's what it's called? I thought it was why do we say the blessing that Moses gave his people? That's what I say.
No, if you look in USCCB, I'll send you a link when we're done. Okay. And I'll put it below, guys. But listen, Jeanette, here, this is a funny part we're going to end on. He made the sign on the girls, because you know how we prattle too much. Look at the words she uses. Remember, the words were different in the 1800s when she wrote this. She said she thought it was so they wouldn't prattle too much. Jeanette, next time we're prattling too much, let's use our word prattle. Okay, let's prattle a little less. I just think it's too cute. So Jeanette and I will prattle less today. However, it was significant of something else. Jesus passed the night with his disciples at the house of a Pharisee. So he did that with the girls and didn't touch their body. And I think he was trying to say, don't put your hands on the little girls. Personally, I think that's what it was about. He wasn't talking about you talk too much. He wants us to prattle, but he doesn't want us to prattle too much, and definitely not too much about ourselves. When we talk about our families, we're trying to help you guys relate. We're not trying to put our families better. No, our family is certainly no better, just like the poor, no. No, our family's probably worse, but anyway.
Yeah, mine is.
All I'm saying is, this was a beautiful reading. We got so much here, and I can't believe my Jeramiah that it worked out. So like God just sends us messages. So guys, not tomorrow. What's the next one, Jeanette? Is Monday? Wait, what's today? No, it's Friday. Guys, we got 10 on Friday, and it's about Jesus rejecting the 3 rich youths. See, this is the opposite. He rejects 3 rich youths. He confounds many learned men in the synagogue of Nazareth. So, guys, it's going to be exciting on Monday. So come back for Monday. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Happy Labor's Day. Bye-bye.
Yes, happy Labor Day.